On Sunday, June 11th at 12:27 p.m., a man named Chad Doerman updated his Facebook cover photo. 3 minutes later, he updated his profile photo at 12:30 p.m. Maybe Chad's Facebook friends or anyone who didn't really know him may have thought it was a sweet gesture for this dad of 3 boys and at least 1 stepdaughter to update Facebook with photos of his cute little 3 young boys and himself. Some of them they're giving the thumbs up. Little did anyone know that 4 days later, on Thursday, June 15th at around 4:15, 911 calls would start to alert cops that something was wrong. At least 3 911 calls poured into Claremont County in Ohio. Something very bad was happening on Laurel Lindell Road in New Richmond, Ohio. The house where the tragedy occurs sits about a 33-mile southeast drive as the crow flies southeast of Cincinnati, Ohio. Once again, I must give a huge thank you to The Docket. Please check the link below. Please go help him out because he is great with getting a lot of this information, and a lot of information he buys out of his own hard-earned monies without having a monetized YouTube channel. Let's listen to these 911 calls. Now, according to Steve Albritton, he's an anchor and reporter out of Cincinnati. The first 911 call came in around 4:15 with a female caller saying that her babies had been shot. We are not going to hear this one, but we will hear Laura's voice, mother of the boys, sadly, and other audio coming up. We're going to hear her in the background of the body cam footage where she's screaming at Chad, saying, "You took my life away." And briefly, you will hear her, it sounds like her, perhaps screaming in the background of a dispatch audio, though it's hard to make out what she's saying. Unfortunately, she sustained a shot in her hand, and after we listen to these, I want to talk about motive, divorce talk. Even though Chad's father is claiming his son just snapped, a lot of proof points to premeditation, starting with the Facebook photo changes. But we won't hear the mom saying her babies have been shot. But we will hear another call from a female, a passerby, who was describing Alexis, the teenage stepsister to the 3 young boys who lost their lives. Alexis was apparently running down the road, trying to get help, screaming, "Help, my stepfather is killing everyone."
911, where's your emergency? There's a girl running down the street saying that her stepfather is killing everyone in her family. It's on the corner of where there's a body shop and the fire department. Do you know what road this is?
Okay, what's your name?
She ran to the fire department.
What's your name?
Do you know what road this is? Laura Lindell Road.
You said what?
It's Laura Lindell Road.
Okay, and what did the female say to you?
And she says that her stepfather is killing everybody in her house. I did. I'm on the phone with them right now.
Did she say how or what was happening?
I asked her to get in the car with me, and she said she couldn't leave her family. But I think she ran to the fire department.
So she went to the fire station. What did she look like?
She's probably a young teenager, probably like 16 maybe, with long blonde hair. And she has a black dog.
Did she say anything about a baby?
I don't know about no baby. She said she just couldn't leave her family. But I see a car running around. I'm sorry?
Do you see anything from the house?
So I drove down the road a little bit, so I was afraid that I was going to get shot myself since I interacted with her face to face. So I'm just about maybe 3 houses down. But she's like waiting at the corner. I don't know what she's doing, but I kind of still see her in the corner. But I saw a car kind of came around and whipped around, so I'm not exactly sure if that's him or if he's chasing her or not. I'm sorry?
What kind of vehicle was it?
I saw it. It was like a gray. Did you see that car whip around? It's one of the fire department guys.
Okay.
I think maybe a fire department guy. It was a regular kind of focus-looking gray car,
Okay. We have help on the way. Thank you so
dark
much.
gray.
If you
Okay,
hear
all right.
anything else, call us back, okay, and steer clear of the area at this time.
Okay. This said stay clear from the area.
Yeah. Which?
But speaking of that, that's the house right there.
The next call after that is from a man who is telling cops what he saw.
Okay. Oh, are you inside where you're safe?
I'm standing outside where I can see the fucking lady.
Okay.
I'm across the street at Lindale Automotive.
Can you tell how many people have been shot?
I think 2 children
Okay. All right. I need. What was
that
your
I've
name,
seen.
sir?
My name is.
What's your last name? All right. We've got help on the way. If you could just try to stay inside so that you're safe.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of people were alarmed in the small, quiet town, not used to such tragedy. In fact, it's a crime that has shocked the world. A man who would take out his 3 young, beautiful boys. When deputies arrived at the home on Laurel Lindell Road, unfortunately they found the boys unresponsive. We will see redacted black boxes in the body cam footage. In fact, when one neighbor was interviewed, he almost made it seem as if Chad had positioned the boys in the yard that way.
Dude was an asshole.
Richard Kincannon tells me Chad Doerman had a temper. He told me he witnessed him often treating his wife and kids poorly.
You felt like he was just angry, generally speaking.
He was every day. Heard him. There wasn't a day he didn't yell at his wife and kids out there.
What would he yell?
All kinds of shit. He was just angry, yelling at her all the time, treating her like.
Police arrested Doerman Thursday after he allegedly shot his wife in the hand, then systematically killed each of his young sons. Their dead bodies laid in the yard.
So when you look at that house now, what do you see?
You honestly want to know?
Yeah, I do.
I still see the babies sitting in the yard, laying in the yard. One was right there by the tree, right by the road, not even 20 feet from the road right there. This is where that dude laid him. Laid the one up there right beside that silver truck to the left of the tire, about 5 foot. That's all I see every time I come out here. That's why I try to look at that, focus on that.
A tent now covers a memorial of candles, cars, and cuddled toys. Kincannon tells me he's struggled to eat or sleep since the murders. He watched Chad Doerman cry at his arraignment and had no compassion for him whatsoever.
He knew what he was doing. He planned it. It was premeditated. He shouldn't have a bond. He should never see daylight again, ever in his life. And I think they should execute him the same way he did his sons, is the way he needs to go out.
We don't have full details. We do know that Chad lined up those boys and killed them execution style with a rifle. Unfortunately, one little boy had even got away. He had run towards the woods somewhere, and reportedly Chad dragged him back. When cops arrived, Chad was just sitting there pretty calmly, it seems, on his porch. He wasn't exactly following directions to get down on the ground and come near the cops, but he was pretty much detained without incident. The mother to the 3 boys, this devastated woman, shot in her hand. She was taken to UC Hospital. Even though life flight helicopters and everything were standing at the ready for these boys, unfortunately, they wouldn't be needed. It was too late. Chad Doerman had carried out his pre-planned evil attack on his 3 young beautiful boys ages 3, 4, and 7.
Negative. Sounds like we're getting another call from someone in the area. Right.
Go ahead. Getting a call now from Misty advising that her grandfather told her that, that a female said that her grandfather was killing everyone in the house and that the female went to the fire station. Break.
Go ahead.
There's a male actively shooting at the firehouse. Base is on 99.
I'm converting your mask. Robert 63, how many houses down from the firehouse is this?
You're clear.
34. Your supervisor's aware of this. Yes, sir, you copy.
63, what's your ETA?
About 5, 6 out. Just around Liddell, Nicholsville.
So the fire station has been advised to get inside. Just so everyone's aware, somewhere in the mix there's a 16-year-old female that ran from the original house that was going to the firehouse for help. Not sure where she's at now.
63, you're clear. Do we have a description on the male shooting?
Negative. This was called out that the shooting was occurred by the fire station. They all are back inside of the firehouse. Traffic, your digital. Video is still digital, but the fire department is who told us that shots were fired.
To the SO.
Male shooting the male light green shirt, blue jeans on the front porch of 1965 Laurel.
Talk to round 1. 63 to 72, do you have traffic? Negative. Clear 3 miles out.
3 children have been shot, not breathing. Additional call sounds like the shooter's the father of the children. Units en route, 1965 Whirlwind. It sounds like the male's still on the porch. There are multiple children in the yard, non-breathers.
29, you're clear. Mile and a half out.
I'm putting aircraft standby.
For information, Ryan, cell for 29, it's past Mount Holly School.
I can't copy.
We're getting ready to be 37 here in a second. Just give us 99.
Let's just do it now. Hey, sensitivity back channel. Top 1. I'm over there. G clear. The female that went to the firehouse is advising them that the male shot the entire family. 2137. You're quick.
Where's he at?
Shooter's on the porch.
Get him right here. Right here. You got him on the porch.
We've
Right
asked, that's the last place we've been told.
You
that
show me
he's
your hands now! Stand up and
Walk towards us!
Stand up now!
Walk towards us! Stand up with your hands up!
We know we got a visual in the mail. Not showing his hands, not following commands.
Stand up now!
Not showing hands or following commands. His name is Chad Doerman. Chad Doerman.
I know, but
we gotta go.
I know, but we can't.
If people need first aid and he's not complying, and you know he's a shooter, shoot him.
We gotta find cover first. We ain't no good if we ain't safe ourselves. Hey, no. We need to come from this side where we can see them. Don't take cover behind her. We see them. We're going to approach from this side. We got cover. Right here.
6 covered, 29 and 63 attack got. We're not working right now.
Show us your fucking hands now! Stand up! Stand up! Stand up! Stand up now! Stand up! Stand the fuck up!
EMS, the stage, and air carrier is going to go ahead and fly whenever any units can advise.
Get your hands out of here.
72.
Tell them we're 21. It's in the air.
Those guys can confirm that there's people that need first aid, and that's the shooter who's not complying. They need to take care of the
I got it.
victims. If they have to shoot him, then shoot him.
Man, I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I'm completely sober. Never did drugs a day
63,
in my
we're
life.
21. Get the EMS over here.
Well, I did drugs when I was little, but I don't do drugs now. I'm sober. I'm not trying to fight you.
63.
Get your butt inside. Gatlin, get your butt inside.
We on primary?
Now.
29, we got 3 kids down. 3 kids down, 16 kids up.
Gatlin.
63, we're 21.
Knock
Have
it off.
EMS respond over here.
You're clear, they're being advised. Robert 34, just started mass custody response. 63, do you want them to respond to the Laurel Lindale address? Where exactly do you need them?
We're right in the front yard. What are you doing, man?
Hey, are you copying all this?
Can I roll over? I ain't gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You got anything on you?
No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it. I ain't mad. I ain't nothing. Just make sure that dog don't come out. I don't think he'll bite you. Just don't reach for him and try to grab him and pet him.
All right.
He won't bite you.
What's going on, man?
Nothing. Can I stand up? It's kind of uncomfortable.
I'm gonna
I
get
ain't
you
gonna
here
do
in a
nothing. I ain't
second.
running away. You can do whatever you want with me.
Here. You the only one else inside the house?
What?
You the only one else inside the house?
Yeah.
Sit down right here.
My daughter, she ran over to the fire department.
Sit down.
It's my stepdaughter.
Put him in the cage.
This is Will. This is Will. This is Will.
What else do you need?
They're all being advised to come. They've requested 2 additional medics. There's also air crews flying, but they need an LV. The medics have answers yet.
Can you get the wallet out of my back pocket?
Shut up, dude.
21.
You had the right to remain silent, user.
Yes, sir.
Take the call. I'm on the loss right now. I'm almost there. Yeah, 9 is where Chief and Captain's away. 34%.
Hold on.
Reportedly, Chad's stepdaughter Alexis told police that her mother had warned Chad months earlier if he kept drinking and causing more issues with neighbors because of being drunk, she would divorce him. I'm really thinking this was the madness behind his horrible actions. I believe Chad took down the 3 things a mother would love the most on this earth: her children. I believe that's why he shot Laura in the hand and didn't shoot her fatally. Thank God he didn't shoot her fatally, but I believe he did it on purpose. Just a hand wound. That's still pretty serious, but I think most likely this evil, manipulative, horrible man likely only wounded Laura in the hand so she would live and deal with the heartbreak and pain of her boys being gone. Like she screamed, "You took my life." In Chad's sick mind, he probably thought to himself, if Laura really does divorce me, I'm not going to let her take the children. I'm not going to want to pay child support. This is my speculation. This is me trying to get a grasp around something so evil, so horrible. So he must have plotted and planned, at least from the day he changed that Facebook profile photo. He must have planned to enact the worst kind of pain he could enact on a mother. So when cops arrived at the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,404 square foot home, Chad was just sitting there on the porch as one cop pulled him down and flipped him over and handcuffed him. Chad had the nerve to complain about being uncomfortable lying on his chest on the ground. You could see like a blood stain on the back of his shirt. "You took my life from me." You can hear the mom screaming in the background. When Chad was being walked away and he's asking the cop to do him a solid, take his wallet out of his pocket, I think that cop felt what we were all feeling. He told him to shut up, exercise his effing right to remain silent. You can also see how things played out when you look up the dispatch, the Clermont County notes from that day. June 15th, 4:32 p.m., 3 children shot, scene secure for fire department UC Air Care flying. June 15th, 4:46 p.m. in Monroe Township, multiple emergency medical services on scene. Suspect down per police department, reporting 3 kids down. Helicopter disregarded. Well, yeah, Chad was in custody, but unfortunately his 3 boys were down. June 15th, 4:51 p.m. Update. Scene is a single-family house. Father shot the 3 children, 1 female victim shot in hand. I like the one neighbor who was pretty honest here. He explains how Chad Doerman had quite a temper. He said there wasn't a day he didn't yell at his wife and kids. He was just angry, yelling at her all the time, treating her like ish. He planned it, said this neighbor. He premeditated it. I think they should execute him. I think many people in the world are feeling the same way. It's hard to think about extending any kind of Christ-like forgiveness to such a man. Those 3 little beautiful boys, already with their own personalities, and their coaches speaking about just how cool they were and just how thoughtful each one was with their own little personality, and the older one just being a kind-hearted boy, the 4-year-old being a serious guy, like I'm ready for this sports move.
On the baseball diamond, the oldest was a feisty left-hander, but also a team player.
I was just with him, less than a day before, on the field, having a great time, encouraging his teammates.
Something coaches say he did often, like when one recently struck out.
But the 7-year-old came up to him at the game and during the game and said, it's okay, buddy. I struck out too. It's no big deal. We all do it. And that's just the kind of kid he was.
New Richmond coaches say at 4 years old, the middle guy was a gifted t-ball player.
I would often be the one throwing to him because it's still coach pitch. And just the seriousness of his eyes, like he would nod, I'm ready to go, let's go.
Well, Chad was arraigned on Friday, June 16th. That's when we learned from Clermont County's chief prosecutor, Dave Gast, that one of the boys had actually run away in a nearby field, but Chad found him and dragged him back. I think of what the 3 little boys and most likely the stepdaughter and the mom have likely had to endure, living with a supposed alleged alcoholic like Chad, so loud that the neighbors could hear him yelling every day, treating the mom horribly, and also it sounds like treating the boys, of course, horribly before the final horrific act. And to still see some of these photos of the boys and hear about their joy, they were able to be joyful despite the horrible lives they must have had living with that man. Well, there's a few GoFundMes. One is titled Help My Sister Bury Her Children. That GoFundMe is from Rachel Brown. It's raised almost $250,000. It's more than $220,000 raised out of only a $20,000 goal. No wonder people are really just pouring out their compassion towards this family. I see another GoFundMe titled Laura and Alexis. It's raised more than $7,000 out of its $10,000 goal. It was started by a close friend of Alexis, the young girl who, with her life, ran screaming away from the home and got help. On Rachel's GoFundMe, it simply says, "My sister lost her 3 amazing babies yesterday. Nothing will make this better. It will never be okay. But please, if you find it in your heart to help relieve the financial burden of this tragedy, please donate. No one should have to go through this." Rachel also put a post on Facebook. She wanted the whole world to know how amazing these babies were. "They are not only this tragedy," she wrote. "They were happy and funny, so very funny, goofy, kind, loving boys. They're beautiful and deserve to be proudly displayed. They fished and played ball. They loved fiercely and with their entire hearts. They played together just as hard. Nothing will ever be right without them, but they need to be seen for the blessings they were, the happy lives they lived, the mom who loves them more than herself. They're perfect baby boys." And Rachel edited and said she tried to stop all the spam on this post, but she's warning people not to click on those spam comments that, people unfortunately create during these tragedies. Now, Chad's dad, Keith Doerman, he's 59. He doesn't have an explanation as to why Chad did this, but Keith is claiming, Chad must have snapped. And he doesn't really want people bad talking his son. He's thinking, there has to be something deeper to it. He's, I believe, talking about mental health and all these things. There was some history. When I looked up Chad's criminal history, or his history, or he has a lot of entries in there. So Chad previously allegedly was accused of choking his own father at one point, but I believe his dad didn't show up or something happened where that alleged crime wasn't seen through. I know Chad's dad might want to protect him and love him, and I'm sure he didn't want this tragedy either, but he will have to come to the realization of what Chad is accused of doing. And Chad had the nerve in court to, squeeze his eyes and have all these tears in his eyes. I don't know if they're genuine or not.
State of Iowa is Chad Doerman, 2023 CRA 1975. This matter is before the court today for purposes of bond hearing. Mr. Callum, you were here on behalf of Mr. Doerman. Mr. DeCalvi, Mr. Gass on behalf of the state of Ohio. Mr. Callum as the bond. Go ahead, sir.
As the bond, Your Honor, he is 32 years old. He lives in Richmond, married, is employed. He indicates that his relatives, Gloria Doerman, Todd Frost, and Keith Doerman, may act as co-signers for him. At this time, Your Honor, we would submit to the court that a bond of $75,000 with order conditions would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeCalvi.
Judge Mark DeCalvi, Claremont County Prosecutor on behalf of the state. At this point, I'm going to let Mr. Gast handle the bond for an hour and a half. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Judge, we've got law enforcement with us here today. Our office has been involved. Lots of people in our office have been involved with law enforcement throughout yesterday afternoon and evening, all the way through this morning. And the facts I have for you at this point are as follows. The trauma that this man has inflicted on his family, the community, law enforcement, first responders, and all of the rest of us who have any idea what's going on here is unspeakable. There's been a full admission in this case, Judge. The case is still new. We're still discovering facts. But the evil horror of what we know is impossible to process. In an act of just incomprehensible cruelty, the father that stands before you lined up his 3 young boys, and he executed them in his own home with a rifle. They were ages 3, 4, and 7, Judge. In an act of desperation to save her children, the mother at some point grabbed the gun that father was wielding to attempt to protect them. We know that one of the boys was able to flee into a field near the home. And again, we know from his admission, father hunted that boy down, drug him back to the property, and executed him in front of witnesses. The mother was shot through the hand in her attempt to protect her children. Judge, I asked the court setting this bond to just begin to imagine their fear. This was the man that every day they woke up looking to for protection, love, guidance in all things. The man they trust more than any other person on earth. The person they rely upon to keep them safe from harm. He was their world, he was their guardian, and he executed them in cold blood. We know that from his admission. By that same admission, Judge, he has committed one of the most monstrous, craven, cowardly acts that will ever be our misfortune to see. To make things even more disturbing, Judge, this was no haphazard act. Again, by his own admission, he planned the events of this day. This did not happen on a whim. He's confessed to what I believe is the worst crime, at least I hope, that I'll see in my lifetime. I hope it's the worst fact pattern that ever comes before this court. Judge, it's important for the court to know in the bond we're going to request today, for the court to understand Claremont County deputies, Monroe Township Fire and EMS, and other first responders bravely respond to the scene where they don't know what's going on. They did not know what they're facing, and they come into a scene that no one can ever be prepared for. No law enforcement training, no training of any kind prepares you for this. It's easy to forget that these are men and women with families, children, feelings, emotions. They're not some automaton performing a delegated function. They're people. They were required to give CPR to gunshot children, 3, 4, and 7-year-old children. They held these boys in their arms, knowing there was nothing they could do to save them. How long do those scars last? What day do you wake up from that and you're healed? How do you unsee such an abomination? Bond factors this court needs to consider today are set forth in Criminal Rule 46, nature and circumstance of the crime charged, and specifically whether the defendant used or had access to a weapon, including the seriousness of the offense. It's the most serious offense that we have on the books, Judge. This is it. You can't commit a more serious offense. So the nature of the crime charged is the worst crime that can be charged. Did he have access to a weapon? Yes, obviously he did. The weight of the evidence against the defendant at this point, Judge, we stand here with a full admission of the defendant. That also goes to the confirmation of the defendant's identity, and witnesses on scene did see at least part of what happened.
I'm shocked, to be honest with you. We moved here 6 years ago, and the place is great, and New Richmond's coming up, and you just hate to see anything like this anywhere.
All of a sudden I hear boom, boom, and at like 5 more, I'm like, that's 7 shots. That's shots. Like, there's no way. So I was freaking out like this before I got ready and everything, and I don't know, man. Before that, I saw 2 cars right here on this street zoom as fast as humanly possible. It was like something's going down.
Next, the court is to consider the likelihood this person would return to court if a bond were issued. Again, this is the most heinous crime with the most severe penalty under the law that we presented to the grand jury. That alone would be a major factor in discouraging a person from availing themselves to this court or any other. And the thought to flee and the likelihood of flight is great in the state's opinion. The danger he poses to the community is a factor that this court can consider, and I think with the facts in front of you, Judge, we can't name a person that poses a greater threat to the community. As his prior record goes, Judge, it is fairly minimal. He was charged with domestic violence in 2010. He is not, to my knowledge, on probation community control. Judge, the facts of this case are hopefully like no other we will ever see. When this case gets indicted in the Court of Common Pleas, I am certain that a no bond hearing will be held, and I would hope that would be granted. But at this point, at this juncture, we're going to ask this court to issue a bond we've never asked for before. I'm going to ask for a bond of $20 million. I hope I never need to request such a bond again.
Thank you. Date for preliminary hearing?
The date for the preliminary hearing, Judge, is 6/26.
No objection, Your Honor.
The preliminary hearing will be set for June 26th at 1 p.m. At this point in time, bond's going to be set in the amount of $20 million cash or surety. Anything else at this time, Mr. Gast?
No, Judge.
Mr. Kelm? Mr. Kelm, anything further?
Nothing at this time.
All right, thank you.
All rise. Court is in recess.
I don't know if they're genuine or not. I'm going to assume he was probably drunk when he performed this act. Now that he's in jail and he's cleaning out and maybe getting the DTs and who knows, his body's detoxing, is he really realizing what he did? All I can say, he should have followed the advice in Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. Do not exasperate them to the point of resentment with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive, nor by showing favoritism or indifference to any of them, but bring them up tenderly with loving kindness in the discipline and instruction of the Lord.
63, do you want them to respond to the Laurel Lindale address? Where exactly do you need them?
Right in the front yard. You want us to respond in, Mikey? I've got a female here.
Rescue 66, okay, 1620. Need EMS to respond for PD to the 1965 Laurel Lindale, 1965 Laurel Lindale address.
At the shooting, Station 33 is staging at 3 until further.
Okay, Medic 32, Engine 32 on to the 1965 Laurel Lindale. 33s are staging at the station until now at 1628.
23302. Only 2 more medics.
Confirming 2 more medics to the 1965 Laurel Lindale address. All being advised to come. They've requested 2 additional medics. There's also air cares flying, but they need an LZ. The medics haven't yet. Units at 1965 Laurel Lindale, just information. Air care is flying. Can you advise a point of contact and landing zone?
690, what's the status of the shooter?
He's 21.
Copy. I'm almost there.
33s. I'll get your point of contact here.
1965 Laurel Road. Crossed Franklin Laurel Road and Claremont Laurel Road. Gunshot, stabbing, or penetrating trauma. Medic 66. Medic 11. 16:29 hours.
Medic 36, we're responding to the scene at 1965 Laurel Lindale. 63, no need for text. 72 information, we're going to clear the house, make sure there's no other victims.
That's clear. Clearing the house, making there's no additional victims. Do you want emergency traffic again?
Transport for you. Female and shot in the hand. Transport her. If you can come up to the scene here.
We received a call from the grandmother of the children and the mother, female half, requesting a call regarding what's going on. I don't know if you could advise me who or where to direct that to.
I really wish that Laura could have just escaped with all her children and gotten the protection that she needed from this monster. You know, who knows what evil lies in the hearts of people sometimes. Their desperation. And to take it out on children is just, it's way too much. So Chad will be back in court. His next court date is June 26th at 1 p.m. He's on a $20 million bond, so he's not going anywhere. But I hope this case moves fast. Allegedly, Chad has already confessed from what we are hearing, so we'll see where this goes. It seems like it should be pretty open and shut, but you never know with these cases. Thank you for watching.